Hello and welcome to this FabLab Maker Hub video. In this series of videos, I'm going to be showing you how to do 3D modeling with Tinkercad and how to turn that 3D model into a digital Lego model that you can then rebuild in the real world. So let's get started. This is part one. So we're going to be using software called Tinkercad. Now Tinkercad runs in your browser, so there's no need to download any software at all. What you do need to do though is join up with your email address. If you use the Join Now button in the top right hand corner, create your own personal account. Once you've done that, you can then sign in. Click on the sign in button and then sign in with your email or username. Once you sign into Tinkercad, you'll be in the Tinkercad dashboard. Here you can see all of the models that you've created up to date. To create a new design, literally just click on the Create New Design button here. This will take us into the main Tinkercad page. Once you're into the main Tinkercad page, the first thing you'll want to do is to change the name of the document. Tinkercad by default gives your document a random name, which can be sometimes quite amusing and confusing. Here I have Smashing Walt Amour, so I'm going to just change the name of this to Lego Model. The Tinkercad interface has three main areas. You have the menu bar along the top here, the work plane in the center, and the shape library over on the right hand side. To show how we can navigate around in Tinkercad, I'm just going to drag a box from the shape library and put it onto the work plane. Click with the left mouse and drag onto the work plane. If I let go of the mouse button, the box appears. Now I get a little panel appear over here which allows me to change some of the properties of the box. For the moment I'm just going to hide the inspector here. Now to navigate around I'm going to use the right mouse button. If I click and hold the right mouse button and drag around, I can actually move around and see the box from all sides. I can even look underneath the box as well. If I use the scroll wheel in the middle of the mouse, I can zoom into the box and zoom out of the box. If I hold down the button on the scroll wheel, I can pan backwards and forwards and up and down. If I want to select the box, if I click and hold the left mouse button, I can draw a box over the box to select it. I'll show you that again. Click and that selects it. I can also use the cube. This is called a view cube up in the top left hand corner here. Click and hold the left mouse button and I can pan around in the same way as with my right mouse button. If I get totally lost, for instance, if I zoom all the way out, I can click the home view button here, the little house, and that resets my view. I can also zoom in and out using the buttons here. Now the shape library over on the right hand side has an assortment of different basic shapes. Boxes, cylinders, spheres. By default, anytime we drag a shape from the shape library onto the work plane, the shape sits on top of the work plane. Think of this as like a piece of paper that we're creating on. Using the work plane tool, we can drag our work plane and lift it up on top of objects. So for instance, if I drag the work plane tool here and put it on top of the box, you'll notice that it turns orange. And if I zoom and rotate around, you can see that the work plane is now sitting on top of our models. Now this is useful if we want to start building up on top of things. If I want to put my work plane back on the ground again, I literally drag the work plane anywhere in the free space and then it turns blue again and now I'm back on the ground. So what I'm going to do is just create a very simple model. Create a model of a house. There are a couple of ways we can change the size of the objects on the work plane. If you notice, if I zoom in here, we have these little white squares in the corner of the object. If I click on these, I can pull them and just drag them, click and hold with the left mouse button, and I can pull and drag them and change the size and shape of the object. Also, you'll notice that when we click on one of these corners, we get the measurements. These measurements are in millimeters. If we look down the bottom right hand corner, we can see that our grid is set up to be 1 millimeter. Each one of these little squares here represents 1 millimeter in the real world. So if I want to set this box to be 40 millimeters by 40 millimeters, I can now type that in directly. To change the height of the box, you'll notice where there's a little kind of line down the middle of the box. If I click on that, that gives me the height of the box, and I can change that to 40 millimeters. So now I have a cube that is 40 millimeters square. So as I was saying, we use the shape library to build up our models. So I'm just going to grab the work plane again and put it on top of my cube, and I'm going to create a very simple model here and then try and bring that and create a Lego digital recreation of it. So I'm going to grab a roof and put that on top here and just create a little house. Now I need to change the dimensions of this to fit on top of my cube, 40 by 40. Now as you can see, it's not quite right. I'm going to need to try and align these up. I can try and do that just by dragging it on to there. Another way I could do it is use our align tool. If I draw a box over both of those, one of our new tools comes up here, align. What this lets me do is it lets me line up two or more objects with each other. So I can line up this with the center of the cube and then line up on the center there. So now that's perfectly centered on top of our cube. I'm going to put the work plane back down on the ground. So I have a roof on my house. I probably need to make it a little bit higher, so I'm going to change the height of that to 30. If you ever make a mistake just where I accidentally moved the cube, you can always use the undo buttons up here to undo what you've just done. So we have our simple house model here. Now if we look on the top right hand corner here, we have a few different workspaces we can enter into. The one we're in at the moment is called 3D Design. There's another one called Blocks, and then there's a third one called Bricks. It's the bricks ones we're interested in to create a Lego digital model. If I click on the Bricks workspace, you'll notice we get taken into a new environment here, which is all made of Lego. We have a Lego base plate here for our ground, and our little house has been rebuilt using Lego bricks. Again, I can use my right mouse button to navigate around, and I can use the scroll wheel to zoom in and out. We don't have as many options on the menu bar as in the other workspaces. Up here along the top, we have the ability to choose the size of our design. At the moment we're in ×1, which means it's a 1-for-1 recreation from our 3D model. If I click on the middle one there, that'll be 2 times the size. And then click on the last one, and that is going to create a 3 times size Lego model. So a really huge Lego model. For the moment, I'm going to just click back to ×1 and just zoom in a little bit there to have a look at it. So as you see here, it has rebuilt our model using standard Lego bricks. So the standard 2x4 and 1x4 and 1x1 Lego bricks. If you click here, we have layers. And what this allows us to do is look at each layer of the Lego model as it's built up. So you can see here it's built it using 4x4 and a 1x4, 1x1 brick. If I keep clicking, you can see how each of the layers are made up. You notice that the brick in the middle there is grey. The reason for that is that brick cannot be seen on the outside of the model. So to save us using our coloured brick, we can just fill the inside with dull, boring grey bricks. If I keep clicking, we can see how the model is built up layer by layer. And there's our roof. just zoom out a little bit, and there it is. So we could use this to build up our Lego model layer by layer. One thing I can also do is I can turn the ground on and off, so if I want to be able to see underneath our model for some reason, to be able to see how things are put together, I can also turn the ground off and have a look at it that way. Then I can click back to my 3D design, and I'm back into my model here. Now anytime I change my model in our 3D design workspace and click back into the bricks workspace, the model will be updated. So for instance, if I remove the roof and replace that with, say, a pyramid, I'm just going to grab my work plane on there to make it easier for me. I'm going to change the size of this to be 40 by 40 and roughly put it on top there. Drag my work plane back down again. Now if I click back into the bricks workspace, it'll rebuild my model with the pyramid on top. Now you may have noticed that that does not look very much like a pyramid, and in part 2 of the series I'm going to be discussing how Tinkercad translates our 3D shapes into Lego bricks. Bear in mind that Tinkercad can only use standard square Lego brick. To make objects that are rounded or have sloping sides, we're going to have to be a bit creative with how we make our models in 3D so that they get translated well into Lego shapes. Okay, well I'll see you in part 2. Go grab some Lego bricks and have fun creating your Lego models. Until next time, bye!